Hi guys, welcome to my channel once again. This is Bar Talk with Ola and my name is Mojola Olua. Thank you so much for coming by once again. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to my channel and please like the videos. Once you've seen them and you actually appreciate the content that I put in there. Thank you so much for all those who have been liking and subscribing, and to those who have been sending me comments and feedback. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I want to make a shout out to my WhatsApp family. Thank you so much. You guys have been very, very supportive of my channel since I started it. And I'm grateful to you for the shares, the statuses, the likes, the comments, the feedback that you've given me so far. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I would like to appeal to you, if you're seeing this video or if you're seeing my channel for the first time, please subscribe. Please like the video. Please leave a comment. Today, I want to talk about a very important topic. I want to talk about how to draft motions. It's a very important topic. I've done 2 videos already on moving a motion in Nigeria, but today I want to talk about how to draft that motion. I feel like drafting a motion is very simple and it's one of the things that should come so easily to a lawyer in Nigeria. But looking online, I haven't found a video on how to draft a motion. That's why I'm making this video. If you have been with me since I started the channel, aside talking about chronicling my law practice experience, what I try to do is that when I encounter a challenge or if I have to do something in my line of duty and I find that while trying to research for it, there's a depth of knowledge or content on it online, I then step in and try to create that content, to fill that vacuum, to fill that lacuna. And I am so grateful for the feedback so far. I've gotten a lot of emails, and a lot of questions that people have been asking me in the comment section. I appreciate those who are asking questions. I hope that I've been able to answer your questions as much as I can so far, and I look forward to answering your questions even further. So today, let's get into drafting a motion. What's a motion? Simply put, a motion is a prayer before the court. Now, we go to God and we ask via prayers. We go to people and we ask them via requests and what have you. But when we come before the court, we ask via motions. A motion is an application before the court, asking the court to do something, to command something. So the court can command an action or command a seizure of an action, but we only get the court to do this by way of motions. So let's talk about how to draft them today. If you want to learn how to move motions, I've made 2 videos on that. I'm going to leave a link to them in the description box. Please do well to watch them, and I'm sure that they will be very useful to you. But if what you want to know is how to draft a motion, you have come to the right place. Now I'm going to start from the first thing. Now, the first thing you need to know is that in drafting a motion, you need to understand, what you want to ask the court to do. The court is not a Father Christmas. Even Father Christmas, Santa Claus, people make wishes to him before he grants their wishes and probably exceeds it. But in the case of the court, you have to ask, and you ask by way of a motion. The first thing you need to do is determine what you want to ask from the court. The second thing you need to do is to determine if the court has, the jurisdiction, the power to hear you and answer your prayer, your motion. That's 2. And you can find that by looking at the appropriate sections of the law. But I will get to that much later. Let's start drafting our motion. The first thing you will see on the face of a motion paper is the court heading, the heading of the court. So I have before me a motion that I have drafted. This motion is a motion for amendment. And I'm going to get into the details much later, but essentially it's a motion for amendment that I've drafted, and I'm going to use it as an example in this video. So the first thing on the face of the motion paper is the court to which I'm addressing the motion. So you put that as the first thing. In the High Court of Justice, Lagos State of Nigeria, in the Ikeja Judicial Division, holding at Ikeja. So that's the first thing that you put, centralized. You can use any font type or font size that you want. But I believe that there's a rule of law for most courts that your paper must be opaque. I think I've mentioned it on this channel before that, a particular lawyer went to court and was was objecting to a motion filed by the other party, saying that, they had not printed it on an opaque paper. Our law in Nigeria is still largely based on technicalities. So, he brought an objection. He brought an objection that, the other counsel had not filed their paper on an opaque paper. And to pronounce opaque, he said opaku. Opaku. So it was really very funny. So it's not opaku, it's opaque. OPAQUE. So you have to draft it on an opaque paper. But that aside, the first thing is the heading of the court. In the High Court of Justice, Lagos State of Nigeria, in the Ikeja Judicial Division, holding at Ikeja. So you fill in your own judicial division and where it's holding and the state as appropriate. And if it's, the Court of Appeal as well, or the Supreme Court, or the Magistrate Court, or the customary court, or what have you, you fill it in as appropriate. Now, by your right, you put the court number. So that's for jurisdictions that have, many courtrooms. So here I put court number 7. That's under the heading by your right hand, top right hand. Under that, I put charge number. So I've put charge number because the motion is for the amendment of an existing charge. That's why I put charge number. But if it's like a civil suit, for instance, you put suit number, then you put the suit number that has been assigned to it by the court's registry. And this tells you that this motion is coming up in an existing matter. I know that someone mailed me from YouTube here and they said that they were asking me if they could commence an action by motion. I told them that motions come within actions. So you're supposed to commence, actions by the appropriate court processes as found in the civil procedure rules of court, usually. So when you commence your or the criminal procedure rules of court as appropriate. So, when you commence your action by the appropriate originating process, then you can bring a motion within, that action. That's the general rule. So charge number I for Ikeja /108C, C for criminal /2021. So you don't need to worry yourself about how this would be written because it would have been assigned at the registry. So you just copy the charge number and put it. The next thing is between, that's the parties. You state the parties in the matter. Between the state as complainant and applicant, because it's the state that files a charge. That's an information properly put. So between the state complainant applicant. Complainant because it's the state that started the matter. If this were, a civil matter now, and it was instituted by the state would be the plaintiff. Yeah, the state would be the plaintiff or the claimant /applicant. Applicant because the state is bringing this motion in that suit. So complainant for the charge, applicant for this motion inside that charge, inside that case. So I hope you get it. The state and that and is VS. That's versus, but we don't call it versus when speaking. We call it and. The state space VS space Johnson Brown. That defendant respondent. Defendant because Johnson Brown is the accused person in this charge and is the defendant. And /respondent because he's going to reply to this amendment if he has a response. Now note that this is a motion on notice and that's the next thing you write under the parties. You tell us what kind of motion it is. Motions can be motion on notice or motion ex parte. When it's ex parte, I've explained in an earlier video that it means that you don't need to notify the other party. So you just come before the court direct. You don't need to serve them. But because it's on notice, the other party will be served. So motion on notice. Now, the very important section. You tell us under which law and rules of court and jurisdiction you are bringing these prayers. So those 3 things are usually stated. So it would usually go like this. After motion on notice, you say, brought pursuant to Section 155 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Lagos State 2015 and under the inherent jurisdiction of the Honorable Court. So if there's a rule of court that provides for the prayer you're seeking to, you put it. So let's say there was a rule of court now. You could say that brought pursuant to Section 155 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Lagos State 2015 and Section 222 of the High Court civil procedure rules or the High Court criminal procedure rules, if there's anything like that. Essentially, what this section does or what this section requires is for you to state the rules, either rules of court, rules of practice, rules that give you the latitude, to bring such prayers before the court. So you reference them. So here, the rules that have given me the latitude to amend my charge as a prosecutor in this case is Section 155 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Lagos State 2015. And then I'll add under the inherent jurisdiction of the Honorable Court. So now the next thing is the routine drafts, which says that take notice, that is for all motions. This one is just, general for all motions, generic. You say take notice in capital, then go back to small letter, that this Honorable Court may be moved on the dash day of dash 2021 at the hour of 9 o'clock in the forenoon or so soon thereafter, as counsel may be heard on behalf of the applicant, praying the Honorable Court for the following reliefs. Now, you don't fill in the date because you are not the registrar or the court who assign a date for your motion to be heard. So you don't fill in the date, you put dash and dash. But you write, take notice that this Honorable Court may be moved on the dash day of dash 2021 at the hour of 9 o'clock in the forenoon or so soon thereafter, as counsel may be heard on behalf of the applicant, praying the Honorable Court for the following reliefs. And then you state your reliefs. Relief number 1, an order, that's in capital, then go back to small letters, of the Honorable Court granting leave to the applicant to amend the charge in this case. And then 2, and for such further or other orders as the Honorable Court may deem fit to make in the circumstances. Those are the 2 prayers before the court. So usually in practice now, there have been, questions and, debates around deeming orders. But this video is not for deeming orders. But I just want to mention that this particular motion, I added a deeming order in prayer 2 before I went to, the omnibus prayer. The omnibus prayer is for such further or other orders as the Honorable Court may deem fit to make in the circumstances. That's just, giving the court latitude to make any other order, that may help my case as the applicant. But I put prayer 2 as an order of this Honorable Court deeming the amended charge has been properly filed and served. There have been debates around the legal backing for this, but it's a general practice that you add a deeming order when you're amending, your process before the court. Now, the reason for the deeming order is that most people like to file the amendment before they come before the court to ask for leave to file it. So, assuming that the court would grant them. So, you file a deeming order so that the court will say that what you have filed before even coming to ask for leave to file has been properly filed and served. That's a deeming order. But, the legality is in question, so you might not want to add it if your judge in your jurisdiction is one that would most likely not grant a deeming order. So you should just stay with, for amendment motions, you just state an order for amendment and the omnibus order. So let me read the reliefs again. 1, an order of the Honorable Court granting leave to the applicant to amend the charge in this case. 2, an order of this Honorable Court deeming the amended charge as being properly filed and served. And 3, and for such further or other orders as the Honorable Court may deem fit to make in the circumstances. Then you date it. Dated this day, this dash day of dash 2021. That's, you date it. When you file it, you date it. You can date it the day that you printed your motion. But when you file it, they will date it the day it was filed at the registry. So when you're moving your motion, you say dated dash day and filed dash day if the days are different. But if they are the same, you say dated and filed so and so the date. So now we have, the date. After the date, you put your name, your post, and your office, and then for service on the defendants. If you have the defendant's name and address, that's their lawyer's name and address because the case is already ongoing. You put it. So I hope that you will see it on the screen as I've described, and it will be easy for you to draft your motion when you're drafting yours. So attached to a motion is always an affidavit. So an affidavit is just to support your motion. And there are some rules guiding an affidavit too. So I'm just going to skip, the things I've talked about in the motion, because you repeat them for an affidavit. That's the heading of the court number, the charge number now for this motion for amendment, then the parties, then the heading. Instead, where your motion was motion on notice, the heading for this one will be affidavit in support of application. Affidavit in support of application. Then you start it. I, Mojola Olua Livingstones, female Christian legal officer, Lagos State Ministry of Justice. That's fictitious. I do not work at the Lagos State Ministry of Justice, please. So Lagos State Ministry of Justice, Secretariat, Lagos. Do hereby make an oath and state as follows. That's the introduction for your affidavit. And then you start to state facts. So because affidavit is a testimony of facts deposed to by a person, especially in support of a motion, you have to state, the facts that you start with. That you start each fact with that. That's why if you watch the video motions, we usually say that this motion is supported by maybe a 13-paragraph affidavit. Affidavit paragraphs are numbered. So the first paragraph, that's number 1, will describe you, your role as regards this matter, and how you came to know the facts that you're talking about. So now I said that I am a legal officer attached to the office of the public prosecutor, for instance now, Lagos State Ministry of Justice, State Secretariat, Lagos, and by virtue of which I am conversant with the facts herein deposed to. That's the first paragraph. The second paragraph, you say that I have the authority and consent of the Director of Public Prosecutions of Lagos State to depose to this affidavit. You're just telling us where you derived the authority, to make the affidavit. Very important. That I was informed by, you put the name of, your superior who informed you of the facts you're about to depose to, as we are assuming now that you're working under someone. That I was under an officer, a senior officer at the Ministry of Justice. That I was informed by Mr. So, Director of so department, of the need to amend the charge number. You state the charge number again. Then to charge the defendant with the offense of rape, and I verily believe it to be true. So that you state, the person who informed you, you state the charge number, and then you state the offense you are charging the person with, and then you say, and I verily believe it to be true. That's the third paragraph. Then the third paragraph would have, subsections A, B, C, D, E, and so that's where you state why you are amending the charge. In this case, I've stated in one of the paragraphs that, there was a typographical omission regarding the time the offense was committed, which changed the nature of the punishment prescribed. That does not apply to rape, but let's just say it applies. So the third paragraph would read that I was informed by Mr. So, Director of so department, of the need to amend the charge number so, to charge the defendant with the offense of burglary and stealing, and I verily believe it to be true. Now, in that third paragraph, the first paragraph, you're stating who you are and how you're related to the office where the charge emanated from. The second paragraph, you're stating that you have the authority and consent of your superior, because we are assuming here that you are working under a superior officer, You're stating that you have the consent and authority of your superior to depose to this affidavit. And then 3, you're stating that you were informed by your superior. You put the name of the need to amend the charge. You put the charge number. To charge the defendant, you put the offense now, as it will now be reflected after the amendment, and that you verily believe it to be true. And then this section 3, paragraph 3 rather, has subsections. In those subsections, you state the date the charge was filed. 3A now says that the charge in the case was filed on the 13th of October 2021. B, that having reviewed the filed charge again, a typographical omission of the time of offense had essentially changed the nature of the punishment prescribed, hence this amendment. And then C, to avoid a miscarriage of justice, it is expedient to file this amendment. Those 3 subsections are just telling the court why a need arose for you to amend the charge. It's very important. If you got additional statement, or if there was anything that gave rise to the charge, the amendment of the charge, you tell the court at this juncture. Paragraph 4, that the proposed amended charge is hereby attached and marked as Exhibit A. So you attach the proposed amendments. Because I've asked for a deeming order now, I've attached both the proposed and the amended charge. And then paragraph 5, that the leave of this honorable court is hereby sought and obtained. 6, that the amendment is necessary in order to proceed with the trial of the respondents. 7, that the leave of the honorable court is sought to deem the amended charge as properly filed and served. That's because I asked for a deeming order. Then 8, that the defendants will not be prejudiced if leave is granted. 9, that it will be in the interest of justice to grant this application. And 10, very important, that I depose to this affidavit in good faith, conscientiously believing the same to be true and correct and in accordance with the oath law of Lagos State. Now, you notice that 3 to 9 are just advancing reasons why I believe the court should hear me and grant, the motion, and they are very important. These things must be included. The wordings might be slightly different from the other, but you have to tell the court why it should grant the order. And then 10, very important, must be put at the end of every affidavit, that I depose to this affidavit in good faith, conscientiously believing same to be true and correct and in accordance with the oath law of Lagos State. Now you put the state oath law of which state where you're filing it. And then downwards right, you sign as a deponent. And then downward left, you write sworn to at the High Court Registry, Ikeja, this dash day of dash 2021. So you leave those dates blank because it will be endorsed the day that you file it. And of course, before me dash Commissioner for Oath. That's where the Commissioner for Oath will stamp and sign. And then your affidavit as the force of law. So that's how to draft a motion on notice and an affidavit in support. Please go through this video again if you got lost at any point. I'm sure that it's explanatory enough and it will give you a guidance on how to draft motions and affidavits in support. I hope that you've learned something new from this video. Please like the video if that's the case, and please subscribe to the channel. Share the video with your friends and with all and sundry. I will see you in my very next video. Toodles!